Hello, chat. So, I was excited to cover this breaking news, but there's one story that I hoped to never have to cover. We're down a road, people. Our little friend. I just buried him. The broken mouse I found yesterday. There was no fixing this. So, if we could just have a moment to remember this little guy. Well, he looked pretty dead this morning, so I put him back into nature. Sometimes the winner does take it all and the loser standing small. He was dying in my shower, so I gave him some hospice care. Thinking I belonged there made sense. No offense. I gave him food, water, shelter, and yeah, this is it. Nope. I found a pet, and then he died. It's as cold as ice. Can't hear. Losing someone dear. Yeah, we had 24 hours together. So, little guy. At least he was comfortable in his final moments. Gave him some Cinnamon's food. Like I used to kiss you. When she calls your name. We're deep inside. You must know I miss you. Alright. Rules must be open. What a song. Anyway, so that was depressing. No, it wasn't a new pet. I found that mouse just like hopping around in my bathroom yesterday, and he was clearly like injured and dying. And then he went underneath something, so I didn't see him. And then I went to take a shower, and he's in the shower, like on the corner, like just acting crazy. So I figured I would nurse him back to health, and he could either die comfortably or be well enough to go back into the wild. But unfortunately, we had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun. Exactly. But this is not the topic of the day. Are you saying you have a mouse problem? Yeah, that's my way of telling you that. Yep. But like, of all the, I don't know, I find them to be cute, but I know it's ultimately not great to have mice that there are more recent development. I've noticed a couple just tiny mice that are so cute. I'm like, what could they possibly do? But they died. They're dead. So the mouse problem is no more. They self-eliminated. Would you like many viewers? Thank you for the spam comments on Kick. I love those. Anyway. Hey, BB wants to know, when is D-Dog coming? Can't wait. As soon as tomorrow, people. As soon as tomorrow. But definitely in the next week. But as soon as fucking tomorrow, people. So I should use this time to clean up, but I saw that Destiny was doing a broadcast because they unsealed all of the court documents for his case with Pxie. So he's streaming and going through them. And that was the first thing that popped up on my timeline. And I thought that might be a good thing to react to. So instead of cleaning in preparation for D-Dog, let's watch Destiny, read court documents. They chew wires. Okay. All right. Well, listen, we all know I struggle. Okay. I'm a busy bitch and I struggle a little. And hopefully D-Dog will be comfortable just being a living maid and helper for me, because we all can see I need a helper. I need an assistant. Tomorrow we feast. Well, it wouldn't be until later because I'm working tomorrow anyway. So I'm working tonight and tomorrow, but then I have 5 days off. Okay, people? 5 days off. So, and it's going to be Halloween this Friday or Saturday. So we might do like some kind of Halloween stream. I just want to see, we're just going to take it day by day as he gets here. But that is in the very, 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 very near future, people. He's proven to be a decent... Oh, yeah, and then we'll have car access, so we can be driving all over. It's going to be... Don't worry, the content will be flowing. So, but anyway, let's get into the meat. 5 days off is a lot. I know, I'm very excited to have 5 days off in a row. All right. Okay, so... And Destiny, he's in a different setup than he's normally. I think he was like on some kind of break. I'm not sure. I didn't watch much of this. I just saw it. I was like, oh, this is what we get to react to. And then I went to get some Red Bull, came back, and here we are. And to go bury the mouse. D-Dog is your boyfriend, not torso. You should tell D-Dog you like men in uniform and get him a butler outfit to clean. Well, the thing is, not even just him cleaning. I'm more inspired to clean if there's other people in my space, and because once the mess starts affecting other people, I start feeling, bad about it. So that in itself will inspire me to be cleaner, because when the mess piles up, I'm like, whatever, it's only me who lives there. And when I lived with my little brother, he's even messier than me, and half the shit that's still in here is his stuff that he has yet to move. What's up, people? All right, let's get into this. I figured we'd start where it's live and then maybe go back so we could be getting the live stuff, and then or we could start at the beginning, but that's just what my personal thoughts were on how to proceed. And it is not Liberty Sunday. Let me change this background. Yes, it is not that day. Celebrity. Which one should I do? Whatever. Oh, we're in church. No, it's distracting. I'm just going to make it normal. Whoa. Blue waves. Whatever. All right. We're officially distracted. Super invested in this relationship collab now. D-Dog is going to flip when he gets bit by a mouse. LMFAO. Well, he's aware of, the fact that there's some mice running around. He saw them last time. But yes, it is interesting and I'm hoping our neuroses will just complement each other and form into one perfectly functioning person. But he's a little more on the clean OCD. I'm a little more on the messy side of the spectrum. So we are going to see how that goes. But he braved Ruby Land in its worst condition, because the first time he came up, I was in bed sick. So I just didn't even do any cleaning whatsoever or real preparation. And it was super last minute. So, all right.
Court filings, because I don't even know if this is even a real fucking case anymore. But one of the things that Pxie would tell me about her boyfriend a lot was that he got really jealous. The reason why we stopped hooking up or sexting at all, we only hooked up one time. The reason why we stopped sexting is because she said that her ex would get like really jealous and stuff. So I had no idea that this guy who's super jealous of her hookups, and I don't even know if this guy hates me or not, has 3 videos of us. Like, I don't know that, but hey, it's all Gucci, whatever. And then she says yes, and then her lawyer says, all right, did there come a time that Mr. Bunnell disseminated your video to any other individuals without your consent? She says yes. He asks, all right, and when did he do that? She says, he apparently did this on multiple occasions. Unfortunately, there's like contention around like the exact date when he sent it to Rose. I thought it was October 4th. She's lying. But it could have been 2022. But it could have 2022. They're saying it was April 4th, 2022 or something along the lines. I'm not sure.
But not for a couple hours.
The judge says, well, back up a step. When did you first learn of him transmitting anything? And then she says, oh, I learned that on the day after Thanksgiving, November 28th of 2024. The judge says, okay, and how did you learn it? And she said, because one of the people that he sent it to decided to publish my video and the video of multiple other partners to a website called Kiwi Farms. Basically. And that website is known for also doxing and harassing people. And
I wonder if I have a thread
the judge said, and how did you learn of this? And Pxie says, because I started getting messages from a whole bunch of people and random strangers in DMs, and people started posting under my social media pictures of the video and like then telling me like, oh, you just got exposed to like, oh, I hope you know this, but your Destiny video got leaked out. Oh my God, like, yeah. And the judge says, okay. Now a question, now I don't know what the judge is thinking here, but again, if you're not an idiot, the big question here is, wait a second. Why aren't you suing the person who, now I'm not saying the judge is implying this at all, but like the question I think any reasonable person, and this is what both lawyers told Pxie before she found this current law firm, why aren't you suing the person who published this video online? Why are you, what? Why is that person not a party to this case? Hello? And she's fully admitting all of this as well, right? Now keep in mind,
some different
if this hearing feels rough so far, this is a direct examination. Direct examination is just your own lawyer asking you questions to get stuff on the record. This should all be good for you, okay? All of this should help you as much as possible. But, all right. The judge says, okay. Her lawyer says, so that was in November of 2022 when you first found out? Oh, also, her lawyers have facts wrong, which is just totally inexcusable. She says, yes, no, sorry, 2024. Wait, why are we cuxing? Hello? Wait, everything looks good on my end. We're good? Okay. The judge says 2024, you said? Pxie says, yes, November 2024 is when I first found out that the video had been publicly disseminated. Her lawyer says, there's the who is Rose. Pxie says, I wish I could tell you. I wish I knew who she was. I don't even know if the defendant knows who she is exactly because it doesn't seem like they ever met in real life. According to, like, the messages online, it seems like she was a 19-year-old girl, but he never verified her age, to my understanding. So the hacker who took control of the account, or whatever, claims that she was 17 at the time they started sexting and corresponding. And that's kind of all I know about her. I just know he never actually met her, and we don't actually know her age. Now, again, why isn't this person in court? Why aren't we suing anybody
fresh off the sex offender registry?
Why do you seem to know so much information about this person, but you didn't name them as a party to the case? Kind of weird.
Yeah, he's also into...
Yeah, and that's kind of all I know about her. I just know that I never actually met her, and we don't actually know her age. Why does that matter here? This is, again, like you're just using the court...
yeah, that's all I've seen. That and some Ethan Ralph.
Stuff is out of sync? Wait, is stuff fucked right now? Or
I've only gotten honorable mentions, so...
Refresh if you desynced.
I think we're still in the clear.
Okay, refresh if you desynced. Her lawyer asks, as this issue has progressed, did you come to learn whether or not Mr. Bunnell had continued to share that explicit encounter without your consent? She said, yes. And what other occasions are you aware of that he shared it with other individuals without your consent? She says, after I spoke about this issue and what was happening, I found out that Abby MC apparently received a video of me in 2023. I got a couple of messages as well of people who said that they think that they received a video of me. One of those people said that they think that their sister received a video of me and that the sister recognized me from a video just a few months ago. But unfortunately, some of these people have deleted their accounts. Why the fuck did you not get affidavits and everything from these people before filing your suit? If you thought that these people were relevant, why would you not get affidavits? Why would you not get everything that you could about these people? But hey, whatever. Andrew, objection, Your Honor. Lacks foundation, also contains hearsay testimony. Her lawyer responds, it goes to state of mind, judge, and this hearsay is admissible in this type of hearing. The judge says, well, I'm not admitting it for the truth. It's just for the perception of the time. And when did you learn of the second distribution? She says, the Abby or the person who said the sister? The judge says the first of those. She says, it was after January 20th, after the Substack was posted, that's when I started receiving people, or a few months after that. Her lawyer says, after you initially found out, after Thanksgiving, that this video had been uploaded to Kiwi Farms, did you make efforts to contact Mr. Bunnell? She said, yeah, I basically, because I know that there was more than one video in that encounter, like I asked him if he sent anything more to other people. I was really paranoid, essentially, for the next few days that something else would come up that I wouldn't know about.
Why is his voice like?
He says,
Let me reload this.
When was this conversation?
Order.
I basically could not sleep. I had a lot of trouble sleeping at night. I was super anxious all the time. I was just waiting for somebody to like tell my parents or my family what happened. I would be crying constantly. I was super depressed. I was in a really bad state of mind. And at the time, one of my friends was like, oh, maybe you should like try to seek legal justice because that seems to be like something that's like really big on your mind. So I tried doing that. And then I was told that there was no guarantee of Jane Doe's status and that if I didn't receive that, good luck. You know, people are going to harass my family potentially more or my, you know, just as a clear thing, I think this is a fucking lie. I think she asked a friend or something about this because the Jane Doe status is literally baked into the federal statute that she's suing me under. So I don't know who would have told her this. Now, I don't know if she'll say this in the hearing, but the one thing that she was told by two separate law firms, and I know this, but I only know this because of the leaked DMs between her and Aaron, because she hasn't turned over any of those to me because she's not giving me anything in discovery, which is interesting. But in the leaked DMs to Aaron, she mentions two different law firms told her that she didn't have a case against me, that she should be suing the guy that leaked the videos. Just saying. So she continues. So and I'm not saying that this was right or okay, but that's what my mindset was at the time. The original plan was basically for me to commit suicide and schedule a note for after I died, detailing what Stephen had done and hoping that everybody would forever know what he did and be able to stay away from him and be able to be more wary and cautious. And it was only after essentially being on like suicide watch with my friends. I'm very lucky to have the friends that I have that were constantly checking on me every day and making sure I was okay and, you know, basically convincing me, hey, don't do anything rash. At least do your best legally first, and then if that doesn't work out, you can figure it out later. But just try this option first before the life-ending one. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to try my best to go that route first and see what I can handle and everything. So just to be clear, this is extortion. I don't know if no one had told her this, but this is extortion. You can't come to me and say, I need you to give me $1 million or I'm going to kill myself and post a note about you to embarrass and humiliate you. That is textbook extortion in all 50 states. That is extortion. You can't do this. Well, I mean, I guess you can. I guess you tried. Also, just to be clear, because a lot of people are bringing up Aaron in chat, I think it's gross that Aaron was able to get back into every community.
But the reason why people should know when I was joking about Keemstar is because I said I was joking immediately afterwards. So it's not something I would ever do. But I know it's a dark threat, and I guess people really do, you know. Yeah, but no, that was never. But I was just thinking about that too. I was like, okay, maybe that's.
And nobody cared or seemed to have any questions about it. And I think her political views are disgusting. That being said, okay, maybe I'm just a simp loser retard. Personally, I don't actually think Aaron interpersonally did anything wrong here besides trusting President Sunday with all the DMs. I do think Aaron was just looking out for everybody in the situation. I don't think that she was trying to be malicious. I think she was genuinely looking out for Pxie as much as she could. Just her sharing DMs with
I know what the
with President Sunday was just so
it for everyone.
stupid.
I should sue her for ruining.
That's my assumption of it.
Forever.
But anyway,
and extortion jokes. Come on.
Hold on a sec.
Obey me or it's dark. It's a dark route to go. Hey, what's up? What's poppin'?
Okay. Her lawyer asks, do you still receive or are you still the subject of derogatory posts on social media as a result of this encounter with Mr. Bunnell? Now, also, just a couple things, and I think all these DMs are public now. I really don't like the way that Pxie talks about suicidality with her friends. In my opinion, it is incredibly contrived and carefully crafted because in every suicide message she types to somebody, she always types, I think I'm going to kill myself, but don't worry, I'm not going to do it like now. It's probably going to be a month or two from now. And I feel like when she's saying that, she's saying it so that she can't be Brady acted or whatever, so that she can't get interned or committed for 3 days or whatever at some suicide watch place. She's always saying like, I'm going to kill myself, but don't worry, I'm not going to do it now. I'll wait until the holidays end. I've seen like 3 different messages where she typed.
Unrelated. I just got a notification that there's been 3 deaths in Disney World in 10 days. Spooky.
She did it once to Aaron. She did it, I think, twice to She did it twice with Kyla.
How's it
She
going?
might have done it with me once. I don't know if she did that. I'm not suicidal right now. That in my mind, that's crazy. Also, oh god, I need to do like MDMA for one of these streams. I wish I could cry right now. Okay, pretend I have tears streaming down my face. Okay, my best friend killed himself when I was 20, 21 years old. That was a pretty fucked up moment in my life. Okay, laid down in some train tracks and let a train run over him and died. His name was Christopher Aguirre. It was Malvern, Iowa. You can read the story online. So it's kind of crazy to me. All right, if I was a crying person, okay, I would be invoking that trauma right now, and I'd be saying, "Oh my god." My best friend killed himself, and she was using the same language. Okay. Oh, and Reckful killed himself too. He was a friend of mine. But
Yes,
you know,
like, it's never. It's hard to know what threats to take seriously when it comes to suicidality, for sure.
all right.
I've had that used to like manipulate
Kaya,
me.
sit. Jesus. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Or
All right.
be like, I'm like,
He said, "Do you still receive or are you still the subject of derogatory posts on social media as a result of this encounter with Mr. Bonnell?" She said, "Oh, absolutely. Although I will say that most of it is from Mr. Bonnell's community now. Not very good." He said,
Trained up
"How has this
Melina.
impacted you?" She says, "I have like thousands of people online believing that I was not serious about suicide. I have thousands of people online say that I was like a liar and that I am lying about this case continuously, even though I would argue the opposite actually holds true. Obviously, the general feelings like depression and anxiety, and I fear like going outside. But I think the biggest one, like, I don't know, I still struggle with the suicidal thoughts sometimes. I'm getting help mentally, professionally. But what I see is like thousands of
doesn't
people
wanna
basically
off
claiming that
themselves?
I'm lying about how I
Life is
feel
brutal.
and that I wasn't actually serious. Like, yeah, there is a little part of my brain that is like, maybe I should end it and stop the pain that I feel and just show everybody that I wasn't lying and that I am, and this is not okay." Oh, and then she starts crying.
yeah, let me end my life to prove a point that I was serious about ending my life. This is like a totally normal, healthy minds,
At this point.
healthy
And then
minds are the best
her
in
lawyer
the
says,
world.
"Do you need a second? Would you like some water?" She says, "Yeah, please, 1 sec." He says, "We'll get you some water, Miss Doe. Are you okay to continue?" She says, "Can I have like 1 minute, please?"
Is that it?
Her lawyer says,
Yeah, 'cause
"Your
I
Honor,
think
would you
that-
mind giving her a break?"
that before.
The judge says, "You can take a 5-minute break." She says, "Thank you."
You should.
And then, okay. Miss Doe, her lawyer, "Do you feel ready to proceed?" She says, "Yeah." Did you have to have discussion with your family about the uploading of this video?" She said, "Yeah." He said, "What was this conversation like?" She said, "Oh my gosh, I just got out of it." I'm like, "Okay, sorry, my..." And then the judge said, the judge interrupts and he says, "Well, let me ask you this question. Do they know about your relationship with the defendant?" I think she says yes here. It says no audible response. Maybe yes or kind of. And then the judge says, "Okay, and who all did other people know?" And then Pxie says, "There should have only been 2 people who should have known, my ex-boyfriend and Steven's ex-wife, Melina. And to be clear, I told him he could tell her, but I didn't say anything about showing her anything. But those were the only 2 people who should have." Now, big issue here. What? So earlier she said just not to send the video around. Then she said nobody should know about anything. Now she's saying, well, I told him that Melina could know, but Melina couldn't see the video. Remember, this is the core claim of really, truly all 4 of your acts, your civil causes of action here, especially your federal claim. How are you unclear about what the agreement or the arrangement is that you're coming to court to testify about? This is the most important. And also, keep in mind as well here, excuse me, you're saying that you and me recorded sexual material and I said that your boyfriend could look at it, but my wife couldn't? In what world would that ever be an arrangement? Bro, Melina would kill me. There's no world. And I would never make that arrangement because I would feel cucked. Like, hold on. We're recording something where you can show this to whoever you want and I can't even show it to my own wife? Wait, what? So dumb. What a dumb, horrible answer, but whatever. The judge says, "Now, let me ask you this question. You said you originally met him through online. Have you yourself had an online profile before?" She said, "At the first time I just started, I transferred universities and it was a very big change. I didn't have a lot of like friends in my new university. So I was like, okay, like I have a camera, I have a computer. Maybe I can try making friends this way, like online, just live streaming, talking, see who I connect with." The judge says,
Live
When was
stream
this?
would make
She says it was around 2019 or
I guess,
2020. So it was around like 2019 or 2020, like around there. Again, I don't know how she doesn't have all the dates for this memorized. This is your court case. Do you not care about any of this? Is this a joke to you? The judge says, okay. And what university were you going to at the time? She said, I was going to Fordham University, but I just transferred to University of Florida, Gators.
France.
The judge says, so you began engaging in online social media accounts, things of that nature. She says, yeah, I just kind of leaned into politics. I was like, these are the topics that I care about, that I think are important. And then people were like, those are important, or no, you're so wrong about this. The judge says, did you ever introduce your personal life into any of your videos or your posts? She says, not really, no. I mean, the only thing, Destiny, quick cube. Oh, pee break, shut up. The witness, she says, not really, no. I mean, the only thing I would talk about that would be somewhat personal would be, things relating to like mental health and the importance of it, and like how, I think it's not something talked about enough in society, but I wouldn't tell people like, this is the university I'm going to, or like, these are, my name. I made sure I would not say that. Keep it super private because I know that with that information, like, people can do a lot of damage. Wait, hold on one second.
I know there's a lot of likes, yeah.
Okay. Then the judge says, I was going to ask you that question, actually. Did you post or submit things under your own name or under a moniker? She says, generally speaking.
Not much. I just started the stream like 20 minutes ago, but he's been going over the unsealed court documents and highlighting certain aspects that he found to be inconsistent about Pxie's timeline, her way of talking about suicide and using that, and him feeling that that's extortion, and she should have basically sued the person who leaked the videos, and that's basically the gist of it. But I also missed the first little bit though. So.
If not every single, like all social media accounts, Pxie. I didn't want people, to know my real name, period. The judge says, okay, so back to counsel's question about you telling your family about your encounter with the defendant. She said, yeah, so basically the way that conversation went is my dad told me that he was disappointed at me. Like, he was disappointed. And then I kind of had to stop him there and tell him, please don't say anything else because I promise you there's nothing that you can say that I haven't already thought of or have told myself. So yeah, that's kind of like how the conversation went. After that, my parents softened a little bit because I think they could see that I was not in the best mental state. But yeah, it was really embarrassing. Her lawyer, minor sidestep, I guess, for life advice, especially if you're listening to me and you're younger.
You thought this was about not the fake lawsuit that the Thorpes incorrectly filed, because they just make threats all day that aren't actually materialized for the most part. No, this is about the actual lawsuit that was happening, not the one that Grace tried to tack on with, to get attention. That wasn't super effective, honestly.
Stop! Not an appropriate joke. Very inappropriate,
I guess.
If you're younger, if you ever get into some fucked up shit and you're like actually facing some like real trouble, either legal or interpersonal or some crazy shit, and you're worried that your parents are gonna get mad at you, I promise you, unless your parents are actual sociopaths, okay? I promise you, mom and dad will always be there to help you or stick up for you to keep you safe first and foremost. And it's always better to go to family or mom or dad rather than assume that they're not going to be on your side and then risk fucking your whole life up. Okay? Your parents will always thank you. If it's a super huge thing, they might not even punish you for it because they're happy enough that you came to them.
That's where they got it. They're,
don't hide like life-destroying shit from your parents. Even if you think they're going to judge you or whatever, assuming they're normal human parents that love you and care about you, which they do, even if they're mean sometimes, or unless they're sociopaths, they will help you, okay? Don't always keep them out, okay? All right.
Cheers. Let's get some Red Bulls in the chat.
But not if you murder somebody. Yeah, Tyler Robinson went to his parents and they sold him out, so I guess if you murder somebody, don't tell them. I'm just kidding. Okay. All right. Her lawyer asks, going back to an earlier topic, you mentioned kiwi farms. After Mr. Bennell directed his followers to the content back on kiwi farms, fuck you, OC, fuck you, okay? Are you aware of how many people viewed it or how many people accessed that site? My lawyer said, objection, calls for speculation. Her lawyer says, if she knows. The court says, I'll sustain it based on lack of foundation. Her lawyer says, all right. Her lawyer said, did you at any time go back to Kiwi Farms to determine whether or not how many views that video had obtained in a certain period of time? My lawyer says, the same objection, Your Honor. And then the judge says, you haven't established a predicate. The judge says, when were you first alerted that there might have been a posting or an uploading on what is Kiwi Farms, like another Instagram kind of thing? I think when it says establish a predicate, so you can't just ask a question without any kind of like lead up to establishing why the question is relevant or whatever. Like you have to like set up the question first. I believe. I don't know all the objection rules. You can go Civ Pro is a class that everybody hates for a reason. Go look all this up on your own time, okay? All right. Pxie, OC is opposing counsel also, sorry. The opposition's lawyers, opposing counsel is OC, sorry. Pxie says, the witness, it's like a website, it's an online forum. The judge says, okay. Pxie says, basically, a bunch of people anonymously post there. Usually they have threads targeting individuals to like harass and dox them. And Destiny has his own thread of people there posting negative information about him. The judge says, okay. And then Pxie continues to yap. And he was aware that this website existed, and he was also aware there was a thread about him. And the only reason I bring that up is because it's insane to me that, that you have like a dedicated group of people who just want to harm you or are trying to find out every single bit of your personal life, and that you're just disseminating out pornographic content of others without consent, privately, whatever, knowing that these group of people exist out there.
Privately,
but that's
whatever.
a side note. I first found out on November 28th, where basically the same day, essentially, that's when everybody was like, oh, Kiwi Farms has your stuff, Kiwi Farms has your stuff, Kiwi Farms has your stuff. The judge says, so it was contemporaneous with you finding out the first time? She says, yes. The judge says, got it. She says, I do want to note that the website gained so much traction that it crashed repeatedly, to my understanding, to my knowledge. By the way, that crash was because of my blowjob videos, my gay videos, not because of anything with Pxie, but, nobody even really knew about that outside of like a few unhinged people on Kiwi Farms, but that's okay. Andrew says, move to strike, Your Honor, lacks foundation.
Well, I think maybe Lauren offered services at some point, but I don't know. I don't think that they ended up going.
Her lawyer asks, how is it that you know that? She says, I know that because the owner of the website made a public posting saying Destiny's BJ video is getting so many views that the website crashed. Not the gay one, not the one with Pxie. I don't know. She tries to make it sound like that, but whatever. He says, where was that? Well, I should say the bi one because I'm not gay. Okay. He says, where was that posted? She says, that was posted on Twitter. The judge says, so you found out about the Kiwi Farms connection on November 28th? She says, yeah. Then her lawyer asks, when was the posting by the owner of the site? She says, about it being crashed?
Yeah.
And then he says, yes. And then she says, it was a few days after. I can't recall the exact date. I just remember seeing it a few days after and being like, oh my God, everybody knows. She knows that this was not about her. I think Noel's tweet, somebody can go find it. I think Josh's tweet might even specifically reference that it was the gay video, but okay, whatever. Her lawyer asks, are you familiar with a Google Drive that Mr. Bunnell has with this explicit video of your encounter with him? My lawyer objects, lacks foundation. The judge overrules it. She said, so I know he had, and I know Abby said that she had received an explicit material of me through the Google Drive. I know he had a Google Drive, or apparently he would upload a bunch of other people's, including him, but like pornographic content without their... The judge says, how do you know this? She says, I know this because the leaker... Well, I know this for a couple of reasons. I know this because the leaker posted messages where Destiny is sending Google Drive links to Rose, to the girl. So there's messages of Destiny being like, oh, if you want to see this video, here's a Drive link, here's a link, here's a link. And the judge says, and you got that from who, Rose? She says, the person who took control of Rose's account leaked all the messages between Destiny and her, and that's included there. First of all, it's not all the messages, but okay. I also know this because multiple women afterwards came out and told me, oh, I received pornographic content about other people, and now I realize that content was probably without consent using these links. And I know that because Destiny himself has stated, and at that time, I thought anything he uploaded there was with the consent of other people, but now I realize that's not the case. Early on, he sent me a Google Drive link or mentioned one, so those are the ways that I found out. So all of this is just like not related to any of this at all, but okay. The judge says, so when is the first time you found out about the Google Drive link? Also, this is really bad too, because it wasn't until afterwards when I went back and I was reading the messages, I didn't send any video of Pixies through Google Drive link. It was just a media attachment on Discord. So this whole legal theory that they were flirting with here is all bunk. But they bring it up a lot because they want, obviously, to lean into this as much as they can. When is the first time you found out about the Google Drive link? The judge asks. She says, I can't remember the exact date because he deleted all of our messages, but I do remember that he sent me one of Melina, like a file with Melina, through the Google Drive. And I assumed, like, okay, like, you know, he's sending me this, whatever. And the judge says, and when was that? And she says, when was that? That was before, I think, our first sexual encounter, but I honestly can't recall the exact date. That was before, you think it was before the sexual encounter? You don't know? Remember this answer. It's going to be brought up later. And then her lawyer asks, and Melina was who?
Appropriate sound
and then
effect
she
there.
says, his ex-wife. And then the judge interrupts again. The judge's interruptions. I'm almost crying. Not even joking. I'm almost crying as the judge is asking questions because I'm like, thank God, like I'm not crazy. And I didn't come into this hearing, like, because the whole internet and all of Kiwi Farms and all these fake lawyer fucks, the esports Batmans, the legal mindsets were all saying one thing. And I'm like, there's no way, right? These people are crazy, right? And they are. So the judge stops and he's like, so he sent you a video of his ex-wife before your encounter with him? And she says, from my memory and recollection. And then the judge said, didn't that give you pause then to allow him to tape you? And she says, no, because I thought, like, Melina, the way that she was also described to me, and my understanding of her, was that her and Steven were in a super sexually liberated relationship, that they were, like, super open with each other, and that they were super open about sex, and, you know, that they didn't really, like, care about that stuff, but that they were also very respectful about boundaries because open relationships can't work without the proper set of boundaries and understanding. Is this like a slut-shaming argument against Melina? I don't even know what the fuck we're going with here, but okay. And the judge said, and you got this information from who? And she says, Steven. And the judge says, okay. And then she says, so I was, and again, like, the only person I was with before Steven was my former boyfriend. So I just thought, like, oh, you know, this is just something I don't have a lot of knowledge on, but he seems very experienced and understanding. And we've had so many of these conversations about consent. She loves using this word over and over. Consent, consent, consent. It's like we're on the internet, and every time you use consent, it makes everything like rape, basically, but she uses the word so much. Like, yeah, I was just under that impression that everything was going to be consensual.
Unfinished business says, I know people say sexuality is a spectrum, but Destiny is literally as gay as anyone could be. I really hope he doesn't make the head noise on the mic again. I agree. I don't know. I mean, I think he's just like a hardcore addictive personality sex addict who just wants to push those boundaries, and that gives him gratification. He's probably porn brain rotted, and I don't know. It seems like a very depressing hedonistic lifestyle.
And her lawyer asks, did Mr. Bunnell ever state to you that he was going to make efforts to take down the videos from Kiwi Farms? She said, yeah. He said that he was hired a legal firm to aid him in that. Yeah. And then her lawyer asks, to your knowledge, do the videos still exist on Kiwi Farms? She said, I believe so. And then her lawyer says, okay, and during the course of the pendency of this case, has Mr. Bunnell dodged you by attempting to publish your name on any of his streams? She said, yes. And she said yes. And he said, and how did he do that? She said, I think it was the 19th of February. Even though he never, even in real life, he did not call me by my real name. He called me Pxie because that's an effort that I went to when it came to my streaming friends or my content creator friends. Like, referred to me as Pxie, Pxie, Pxie. That's how rarely I use my name, even whenever he referred to me for the first time ever as my real name. Now, this is true. However, the protective order wasn't issued until the 20th of February. Again, if you want to sue me in big boy court, okay, well, let's not be Pxie and Destiny. We'll be our real names. Like, yeah, well, you're filing a federal public case against me, sure. But now once the protective order got filed, it's like, oh, okay, then I won't do this, I guess, since we shouldn't do it, yeah. The judge said, and when was this? She said, this was, I believe, February 19th and 20th. Like, he uploaded another video in another channel called Last Night on Destiny or whatever on the 20th, but I believe his live stream was the 19th. Her lawyer says, okay, the video that was shared of you, did it include a depiction of intimate sexual content that you were involved in? She said, yes. Wait, sorry, can you repeat that question? He said, yes. Did the video that was shared by Mr. Bunnell of you and him involve intimate sexual contact? She said, yes. He said, all right, you indicated that it was also shared with Miss Mac without, Miss Abby Mac, MC, I think, without your consent. Oh, he's saying like Mick or Mac. Do you know if Abby Mack was outside the state of Florida? Yeah, she lives outside the state of Florida. Do you know what state she lives in? I can't remember off the top of my head right now. They don't want to say, by the way, because they're helping her dodge a subpoena, by the way. She still is continuing to dodge and hasn't been deposed, hasn't given any testimony, continues to avoid us. But, okay. She said, yeah, I'm sure. I think she just moved out of Texas. That's why I'm not sure exactly what state. But we had conversations before where I know 100% that she's not in Florida. At the time that the video was shared with her by Mr. Bonnell, do you know she was living in Texas? I think so, because I think she was, but I can't say for sure. Andrew says, objection, calls for speculation, and it lacks relevance. Judge says, overruled. She doesn't know, bottom line is the answer. Her lawyer says, did you consent to the disclosure of the video at any time to Mr. Bonnell? She said, disclose, like Mr. Bonnell to send the video to other people? He said, correct. And then she said, not, no. So now her answer here is, before it was like, don't send it around. Before I could tell Melina about it, I guess, but not show her. And now it's like, no, cannot send it to anybody ever. Yeah, just having her give like separate different answers to this is just like crazy to me. I don't know how she doesn't have one super
There's like some high pitch sound that just keeps going off outside. I don't know what the fuck that is. So apologize.
strict, like well-prepared understanding. Remember, this goes to the core of her federal claim against me. Is it still direct examination? Yes. Wait, do Catbox files not open in Europe? I can't open this. Somebody said apparently Noel had said gobbling cock about me, and that's why the website went down. So it was about the gay video, not the yeah. Destiny, she was going to say not exactly. Oh, maybe. She was going to say not exactly, but instead she just said no. Maybe. Okay. Her lawyer asks, okay, I don't have any further questions at this time, Your Honor. Thank you very much. The judge says, thank you. Cross-exam? Andrew comes up. Thank you, Your Honor. My king, okay? Good morning, Miss Doe. Good morning. When you first started communicating with Mr. Bonnell online...
Speaking of Cinnamon being toxic, like, do we know where Cinnamon was as that other mouse passed away? Because I can only imagine, like, even though I didn't go out and adopt this mouse, Cinnamon was probably like, oh, my new, younger, smaller replacement. So, I don't know.
You quickly, the court said, since we don't have a reporter, introduce yourself for the microphone for me. Andrew says, I'm sorry, I'm Andrew Brettler. I represent the defendant, Stephen Bonnell, Burke Brettler, LLP, in Los Angeles. Andrew, Miss Doe, when you first started communicating with Mr. Bonnell online, your conversation turned sexual at a pretty early point in your relationship, correct? I don't think so. I think it was a couple of months. Maybe you guys have the messages. He deleted all of mine, so I can't say 100% for sure, but I don't think it was pretty quick. Just to be clear, I can't delete her messages. That is not true. I can go right now on Discord and look, her messages are all still there. I don't know why she lies about this several times. She lies over and over and over and over and over about this. I can bring up on Discord.
Physical Graffiti says, I'm 20 minutes behind. The mouse died as a result of decon. It dehydrates them as it's painfully killing them. They seek water, which is why he was in your shower. Well, he had like some kind of injury on his leg too. He like couldn't move around, and then he like was hiding under something. And then when I went to take a shower, he was in there. And that's when I put him in the box with like a little bottle cap of water and some of Cinnamon's food. It's about to get good. Destiny's lawyer is definitely going to be. Wildlife generally doesn't survive long indoors. Well, he's the one who invaded my space, and was living off my crumbs. They're probably telling all the other mice, like, bro, you will not believe how messy this chick is. She's just, like, dropping food everywhere. Didn't know the Gemini Critter has joined the cults. What? Well, Gemini follows the dollar, so...
Hold on.
See, he is a musician, people.
He deleted all mine, so I can't say 100% for sure, but I don't think it was pretty quick. Andrew says, on March 17th, 2020, at 5 o'clock in the morning, you sent a message to Mr. Bunnell stating, I took some videos with a guy I can send you later if you're interested. Also, do you recall sending that message to Mr. Bunnell? I don't recall, but I'm going to assume that the message exists. And in response, Mr. Bunnell said, yes. At 5:01 a.m., you wrote, okay, I'll send them to you when I get home. Happy face. Heart. Do you recall sending that message? I don't recall, but I assume it exists. You don't recall sending him a video of somebody else? I recall my former boyfriend, who I would refer to as that guy, didn't want me to send videos of us, like, experimenting and stuff like that. I can't verify, like, the specificity of the messages because I don't have those messages. Wait, so her boyfriend didn't give? Wait,
So this is a thing, too, that's come up, is apparently Pxie sent him videos in a similar manner that he had sent the video of her. Not excusable on any end of it, but, like, the real crime was someone, like, hacking Destiny's stuff and then posting it on Kiwi Farm. So, I don't fully understand why they weren't included in the lawsuit.
How did I miss this?
I
Or maybe I wasn't
super closely to know.
By the way, they haven't made him available for deposition either. Because we've asked for him, because I would like to depose him and ask him questions about, like, just curious.
Like that.
Did you know that Pxie was sending videos of you guys, banging to famous streamers online? Do you have any idea about that? Did she talk to you about this?
Almost stop deleting.
I'm just curious.
B-man, leave the VOD up. I have so many embarrassing VODs.
That she says here that he didn't consent to that. You didn't miss this before you mentioned it after the court. Oh, maybe. Okay. Maybe it's been wiped from my mind. I can't verify, like, the specificity of the messages because I don't have those messages. The judge says, do you remember sending him of a video of some sexual encounter? Pxie says, yes. Andrew said, and I'm also getting there, Your Honor. Mr. Bunnell offered to send you videos of him and his wife if you wanted them. Do you recall that? Yes. Do you recall responding at 5:03 a.m. on March 17th, 2020? I'm open to anything.
I mean, yeah, he's really been a hater. I don't know what. He's so much of a hater recently that he said, if you're in Ruby's chat, don't go to his chat. And it's like, bro, what the fuck did I do to you? Like, and what did D-Dog do to you? Sorry that he just objectively has more game than you. And he pulled up to New Haven and got a bitch. While Jeremy drove to New Haven and got played in the most obvious way possible that everyone saw coming, but poor little Foreman.
You want to send me? You know I'm a super curious person. I think he is asleep, so you might have to wait for my videos until tomorrow. Do you recall sending that message? Again, I can't say specifics, but I'll assume it exists. Yes.
Michael Heiler.
Do you recall asking Mr. Bunnell, is there any particular photo or position you want to see me in?
Nice. You should.
I assume that message exists, but I'm a little confused about what this line of questioning, like, do you recall saying to Mr. Bunnell, I'm with my guy friend right now. I can probably get a photo of me sucking him off if you think that would be hot.
Well, I didn't see. The stream I'm talking about was like yesterday. After Celebrity Sunday, he was streaming and was like ranting again on that. BB says, "Am I just a prude? Who the fuck wants to watch a video of someone they're hooking up with someone else?" I mean, I guess some people really enjoy being cucked. I personally, I can barely tolerate D-Dog just interacting with the female. Like, so I can never, that's not my preference, but Destiny/Thorpe's dungeon. Just for the people who don't know, this is for the actual lawsuit that's happening, not the fake one that the Thorpes filed inaccurately or incorrectly. Went to the Fudge Factory. Nice. His woman wanted to bang in, asked my woman what's up with us after me and Christina held hands. It literally made it to base 0. You're going to have to fill us in on the tea of who you're talking about.
I assume that message exists, but I don't know if I'm overstepping my boundaries here or whatever. What does that have to do with Mr. Bunnell sending my video to other people that I didn't know?
I know.
Miss Doe, do you recall on January 3rd of this year, January 3rd of 2025, where you posted online, I have never sent videos of other people to Stephen, ever. One, I remember sending that to Dan Saltman
forward
in a
that to
private DM,
somebody.
and the context of that was Dan claiming that everybody in the sphere was non-consensually distributing materials of other people. So that was the context where I was thinking, like, no, the guy I had, my former boyfriend's consent.
Smoky Guru says, wow, you guys are actually together. It's not a meme. The space will do that to you. You never know it's real or not. Yeah. Well, but that's why I posted my thing. I have never done any scripted content or anything like that ever. That's just not what I do. Even when I was auditioning for Lolcow Queens, no one told me what to say. I just auditioned, you know. I think maybe people think that since I auditioned for a Lolcow show, that means I am open to doing scripted content, which is absolutely not true. It's just not. My whole channel is based around wanting to like authentically connect with others and express myself. So I never. I don't know. I've never done scripted. I don't see myself doing something like that. BB says it's so bizarre. Like, why would Pxie want to see Destiny fucking Melina and vice versa? Porn sick, man. I mean, everyone has different fetishes, like, but I don't really get it. And D-Dog is actually coming back to me even as soon as tomorrow night, people.
The only one person I was with before moved to strike as non-responsive. My question was, do you recall texting or posting online on January 3rd at 10:37 p.m.? I have never sent videos of other people to Steven.
I auditioned to
I remember
so what was this, like coming up on like a year ago? Grace was hired to be on the show Lolcow Queens for the original cast. It was gonna be Grace and like Becky, Tina, and Lynx or something with the original four. But she got fired, so I thought it would be funny to steal her job and like audition for the show. So I did, and I didn't get hired, obviously, but I did get a decent little boost from there and have interacted with that world on and off since, but primarily as someone who's very critical of it, because at least for my time in the space, I found it to be very toxic and confusing, and I don't know. They talk so much about safety, but their community is just like absolute cesspool.
Messaging Dan privately. It's very different than a social media post. Yes?
My Discord's too dangerous.
Yes. The answer is yes. Move to strike everything after yes. I don't know if this means she said more here and it's just not on the transcript. I don't remember if she said more here. The answer is yes. Move to strike everything after yes. That wasn't a true statement, was it, Miss Doe? No, it wasn't. And then the
judge. You know who has a good if you want to catch up on stuff like that, Naptown edited the Lolcow Queens, that whole era, you know, so I check out their videos. They have a lot of lost streams that have been like, you know, a bunch of clips compiled.
Judge stops. And who is this character? Dan. What is his name? Dan Saltman is one of the best friends of Destiny, who's also a business partner with Destiny. They run a podcast together. He was going online claiming that everybody had done what Steven had done, and that's when I messaged him. So you're responding to him? The judge asks. If it's stricken, it's not their Destiny. Okay. Sometimes she yaps a lot, and then my lawyer, Andrew, will just say, so the answer is this: strike everything from the record after. So I don't know if that shows up here or not. I just thought those moments were very funny. I wish I could do that in a debate so much. This hearing was one of the things, and that lying about him.
I mean, I would never work for him. I've been pretty clear about that. But I did go on Lolcow Test just like a week and a half ago because I made a joke about Keemstar and Brantley in chat, and then he like raged out and invited me to say it to his face, which I did. And yeah, that's on Lolcow Test somewhat recently.
Hilderbug was like, dude, court, where you have to ask and answer like in a straight line of questions and you can't pivot or divert or anything else. Oh my God, it's so nice. So the judge stops and asks, so you're responding to him? Dan Saltman. Pxie says,
dude, yeah, the lore is kind of crazy and how it like intersects and weaves in and out of all these online characters. But it's true that during my psychotic break, when I didn't sleep for 9 days from fentanyl withdrawal in 2023, I was at that time watching a lot of Destiny and Mr. Girl. So I guess that was like in my subconscious, and it turned into me genuinely believing that Destiny was communicating to me through K-pop songs, through turning my phone on and off. He was controlling my internet. He hired the entire city of West Haven as actors to mess with me. And yeah. But he didn't respond to any of the, like, I was just spamming him insanity. And he was like, are you schizophrenic? And I was like, well, I'm either schizophrenic or I have a direct line with God. I'm not sure. But it's all out there, people. I don't like posting private conversations, but I just posted my end because it's just me. It's just a bunch of me acting crazy and him not responding. So figured that's fair game.
Because I saw him on a podcast or on a stream, and he was making those claims. And this was the 3rd, right? January 3rd? Can you confirm that? She asks Andrew. No? Okay. My lawyer doesn't have to give her anything. Doesn't have to help her at all. And she's like trying to get help on the stand because she's... So the judge asks, what was the date of the communication? And so the judge can ask questions, okay? So the judge asks my lawyer, what was the date of the communication? And Andrew says, January 3rd, 2025, Your Honor. It's funny. It's actually a little bit like poker. You can ask a player, if you want to put them all in, what's your stack? What's your count? Sometimes you'll ask players to see how they answer. You can get information about how nervous they are. But the player doesn't have to actually answer you. You can ask, like, did you fold? Do you have 2 cards? Did you bet? How many chips you got? The player doesn't have to answer at all. You can ask the dealer, could I get a count of his chips? And the dealer can count them for you and tell you. So it's kind of funny. There's like a similar setup here, but. So Pxie then continues. Yeah. So this was still before I made my Substack, basically. I was still in a state of denial between when I first found out and between when I made my Substack.
Any HFF updates? I haven't checked in on them in a while.
I was trying to downplay what happened as much as possible, claimed that no, like, everyone's just confused, everyone's just wrong. The judge says, let me ask you this question. Prior to this point, had you already been engaging online with others about your problem? She says, yes.
True.
The judge says, how often? She says,
to
the people who would randomly send me DMs being like, this is you, I would try my best to, deny it. The judge says, no, but on an online platform, in other words, on a more public platform. She says, oh, on a more public platform? No, I did not. I did not claim, make statements about it being me or anything like that. By the way, that's also a lie because she was posting about it in Spicy Chat and maybe other Discords, but I know at the very least in ChatLogic's Discord, she was posting comments about it there. But the judge says, okay. Andrew says, my lawyer, going back in time, do you remember when you messaged Mr. Bunnell in March of 2020? Did you get the video? I'm also open to any videos you want to send me in general. LOL. Objection, her lawyer says. Asked and answered. Relevance. The judge says overruled. Andrew says, as I said before, Pxie says, as I said before, I assume those messages exist.
What were they didn't allow
Andrew says, okay, and do you recall telling Mr. Bunnell after he expressed that he enjoyed watching your video, yeah, it felt really good when he was being dominant and making sure I was a good girl for him.
Good
And then her lawyer, objection, Your Honor, relevance. There's no doubt that this took place. The judge says overruled.
The judge is starting to get a semi.
Andrew says, do you recall responding that way? She says, I assume it exists. He says, okay. And do you recall telling Mr. Bunnell also around that time, that's the whole thing, but I have another video of me fucking in lingerie that won't send through here. And no worries, we can talk more about it tomorrow. She says, I assume it exists. He says, do you recall asking Mr. Bunnell also in March of 2019, do you have anywhere else you think the videos could send to? She says, I assume it exists. He said, my lawyer asks, you inquired whether or not he could send the videos to you via Instagram. Do you recall that? She says, yes. He asks, it was your idea, Miss Doe, to make a sexually explicit video with Mr. Bunnell, correct? She says, that I'm not completely sure of. He asks, on March 19th, 2020 at 5:12 in the morning, and then the judge stops again. The judge says, I thought you said that he suggested it. Did I misunderstand that? She says, no, I'm pretty, again, I don't have the messages. That's a lie. I don't have the messages, so it's pretty hard for me to recall exactly. I remember him sending me something of Melina's earlier on, and remember earlier she said, I don't know if it was Melina before or after we hooked up. Now she's saying it was before, okay? I remember him sending me something of Melina's earlier on, and me assuming, do you want to make videos together as a response to that? But again, I don't have the messages. I can't recall perfectly, but that's, and then the judge says, it's possible that you brought up the topic of recording with him. And she says, it's possible. And the judge says, okay. Then my lawyer says, not only is it possible, but on March 19th, 2020, at 5:12 in the morning, do you recall sending a message to Mr. Bunnell? It's going to be so nice when you do, ? Would you want to make some videos together? And Mr. Bunnell responding at 5:13, 1 minute later, if you want to, yeah, for sure. Do you remember that exchange? She said, yeah. And I remember before that was when he sent the stuff about Melina. But yeah, continue. And then Andrew says, so does that impact your testimony at all? That it was Mr. Bonnell's idea to make the video? Or do you now realize that you were the one that first raised the idea about making videos together? She says, what I claimed was that he sent me Melina stuff. And as a response to that, I was like, oh, do you want to make stuff together? Because I thought him sending Melina stuff was like, oh yeah, like, you know.
Good question. People say it could be from Vyvanse, but I feel like his jaw has always been kind of like that. I don't know, but sometimes when you really look at a person's mouth when they're talking, you start noticing little like nuances. Like I talk kind of weird too. Mountain Dew emoji. Are you a Mountain Dew guy, gamer?
He's into recording stuff. My question was, does it refresh your recollection that it was your idea to actually suggest making a video with Mr. Bonnell? I'm trying to think of how to phrase this in a way that makes sense. If I'm like, all right, I'll use this analogy. If I have like a cup of water and I drink it and I'm like, oh my God, you know, water is really cool. I love water. You know, water's awesome. And you go, oh, hey, do you want some water? Because you keep, you know, you sat here talking about water. Is it, okay, I'm not sure how to phrase this. The way that the judge interrupts her and he says, well, is it safe to say that you're not sure whether it was your idea or his initially? And she goes, yeah, because, and the judge says, that's fine. Next question. Andrew asks, the next question is, do you recall sending Mr. Bonnell a subsequent message saying, do you want to take videos when we do stuff together? I think I'd really like one of you coming in me. She said, I assume that's true. And then the judge interrupts and goes, so this is in March 2020 or 2019? And then my lawyer.
This is that's obviously not a good look for the case if she was the one who was advocating that they make these private videos together. Also, while knowing that he shares them, you know, I mean, the whole situation is fucked. It's fucked to send videos you've made with someone against their consent, you know. That's fucked no matter what. But there's a lot of complicated details in the case, so it's like this doesn't really look great for
2020,
her.
Your Honor. And the judge says, okay. So then the first video that you had with him is sometime thereafter, I take it? And then Pxie says, yes. And the judge says, okay. And then my lawyer asks, okay, do you recall after the video was published on Kiwi Farms that you told Mr. Bonnell that it's not clear that it's your face or anything like that, and that you're 100% denying that it's you in the video? Hold on.
I wonder if that's, I'm assuming maybe he has a lawyer he's talking to as he reads this. Let me just skip forward a little.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Do you recall if the video was published? Okay, that you denied, 100% denying you. And then Pxie says, oh, yeah, I was in complete denial. I was like, oh, well, maybe people can't see my face. My face is clear as day in that video. And then she says, do you recall telling Mr. And then the judge interrupts again. And the judge says, when did you tell him this? I'm sorry, when was this exchange? And Pxie says, I believe immediately after I was getting messages from everybody telling me that I was in the video. And the judge says, so sometime in November or early December? And she says, yeah. And then Andrew answers, November 29th, Your Honor, the day after she claims to have identified the video. And then he asks, do you recall, Ms. Doe, that following the publication of the video on Kiwi Farms, that you created what's called a Substack page where you talked about this matter? And then she says, yes. And then the judge says, what's a Substack page? And then Pxie says, Substack is basically like a platform. It's kind of a social media platform where people post more like longer articles or statements or things of, I would even argue, more of an academic nature than other platforms. The judge says, so it's not like for videos, it's for more articles or writings? She says, yes, yes. And he says, okay, and is this public? She says, yes. And he says, and do you create a profile just like you would for Instagram or something? She says, yes. And then my lawyer asks, and on your Substack page, you notified the world, or all of your followers at least, that have access to your Substack page about the existence of this video, correct? Somebody in chat said, looks like the judge is trying to make a timeline of events.
You know, like watching him read these transcripts, it makes me kind of sad that the Thorpes didn't get their day in court with Destiny, because imagine, just imagine, it would have been quite kino.
With dates. Yes. So one of the issues that I brought up like 8 months ago, there are these two concepts of like proximate harm and foreseeability, right? Let's say, for instance, that I leave a firearm. Let's say that I have a loaded firearm and I leave it in my house, okay? And let's say that a very close personal friend of mine, Empath Chan, okay, finds this gun, goes out and shoots and murders a bunch of people, okay? If that were to happen, I'm not liable at all for that. It's my house. Sure, it's a loaded gun, but like this is not like that's foreseeability is zero. That's not I didn't do this. And the proximate harm is she's the one that was the closest to causing that particular harm, right? That's on her completely. Now, let's say in another world, let's say that I load a firearm, okay, and I go to visit my girlfriend who's currently in daycare, okay, because that's how young I love them, all right? And let's say that I drop this gun off, I just like put it in the middle of the floor while all these like 7-year-olds are playing with each other, and let's say that I walk away, right? Now in that case, I think proximate harm might be on the child that picks up the gun and shoots somebody, okay? But for foreseeability there, well, it should be highly foreseeable that if I leave a loaded gun in front of a bunch of kids, that like somebody's gonna pick up the gun and do something horrible with it and kill people. So like I could be held more liable there. So foreseeability, proximate cause, these like types of concepts are really important when it comes to establishing fault or when it comes to establishing liability for particular damages. And one of my biggest claims from the very beginning of this case is basically all of the liability, I would argue, obviously in court, all of the liability is on Solo. This guy took these videos and posted them online. Nobody else did but him. He's the guy who would be, in terms of like harm or damages, it's all on him, right? You have a very, very, very hard time using a foreseeability argument here, and we'll get into this in the later part of this, trying to say that, well, hold on, you should know that if you send a video to somebody, it could leak, because wait a second, if that's going to be your argument that I should have foreseen that, then you should have foreseen that when you and me recorded stuff, you know? So it's a very, very, very difficult dance that they have to play here with arguments of foreseeability related to me, because they're going to have to try to make an argument that makes me liable that doesn't also spill over onto her. That's a very challenging thing to do, I would think, in a case like this. Now, that's assuming that they win, that the jury finds me liable and everything else, but that's a very, very difficult thing they're trying to walk. But that's also why, in my opinion, I think that's why they obfuscate on the timelines, on who leaked what, on who had permission for what, is because they're just trying to make all of it sound the same. That's why in Pxie's Substack, she also wrote, I would say, with Lauren Hayden's guidance. Now, they have any proof of that, but they also haven't turned over any discovery related to her. Thanks, by the way. I think that Lauren Hayden was the one trying to float these arguments to her, but I don't think that that is a, I just don't think that that's a legal argument. Some people are saying it's lagging. I see no lag on my end at all, and usually I'll see drop frames. Holy fucked.
There were some tech issues on these. Wait.
Hello? Wait, this one.
Alright, let me reload it. Go back to where we were.
That's quite the L. A whole bunch of it. You have no clue. Americans are so fucking spoiled. And they talk about like unaffordable housing and everything. Meanwhile, you go to like any European place of living and it's like radiator. You're like, where's the thermostat? And they're like, thermo what? Is that an American word? And I'm like, the thing that changes the temperature. And they're like, sorry, we have a fire that burns inside of pipes that kind of heats up part of the apartment sometimes. I'm like, what? And they're like, your country has no history. And it's like in Europe, the history is their like living facilities. Okay, every building is like 150 years old. You know when they say like in America your stuff falls down like that, it's because our shit is new and we build it so that we can take it down and put up new shit if we want to. Their stuff is old and it sucks. Okay, it sucks. All of their bathrooms, all of their amenities, it's like all these old knobs and shit that you have to twist and turn, and it like nothing is like, God, everything in America. It's one of the reasons why these guys burn so many more calories is because there's 2 taps. There's like, so you have to.
Oh my God.
The judge says, let me back up. When did you first create the Substack profile? Oh, wait. No. I'm sorry. Hold on. Andrew, on your Substack page, you notified the world, or all of your followers at least, that have access to your Substack page about the existence of this video, correct? She says, I think notified kind of implies that they realized for the first time, and I don't think that's true at all. The judge says, let me back up. When did you first create the Substack profile? And she says, honestly, I can't remember, because I remember I created one a long time ago, because I was like, oh, maybe I want to start writing articles. I'll have it. but I'm not sure if that's the same account I created for this posting, so I can't really remember when. The judge says, okay. And can one make it public, or is it private, or is it automatically public? She says, you can actually do both. You can create private articles, save them in drafts, or you can publicize them. The judge says, and the one that relates to this after November 28th, did you make it public or private? Now, again, I can't speak to the judge's state of mind, okay? I'm not trying to put thoughts in his head. But my guess here is when somebody files one of these cases and they file as a Jane Doe, it's humiliating, okay? You don't want the whole world to know that there's porn images of you or porn videos of you on the internet. Most plaintiffs in these cases file under a Jane Doe because they don't want that shit to be out there publicly. And having somebody file as a Jane Doe, but also be making a ton of public writings attached to their entire online persona and attached to like videos of them and images of their face, that's incredibly strange, okay? It's a very weird thing to do. It's not very typical in these cases. So Pxie says, I made it public. And the judge says, okay. Andrew says, it was before you filed your lawsuit that you made it public, correct? She said, yeah, but I do want to point out, I feel like the claim, like, made it public. It was already public information. Like, what happened that day was two people. I'll start here. I found out that my best friend, and then Andrew says, Your Honor, there's no question pending. And the judge says, well, I'll let her answer. Go ahead. Andrew says, okay. Pxie yaps. I found out that my best friend had betrayed me and was sending my private messages with her regarding the situation to random other people online. And then those people, who I did not know, decided to make YouTube videos with those messages. And those YouTube videos were of defamatory nature. They claimed that I took hush money and that I was extorting Stephen and that I do not care about other victims. They were gaining tens of thousands of videos, or tens of thousands of views. At this point, on top of the YouTube videos, previous to me publishing the Substack, accounts with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of followers were publicly making fun of me on Twitter. They were, Pxie, ew, your sex tape got leaked, that's quite the L. A whole bunch of stuff. So it was after the combination of having these accounts, making fun of me over the tape, and then having the YouTube videos that were gaining tens of thousands of views of my private messages lying about me, that I felt compelled to publish my Substack and clarify that no, I didn't take hush money, I was not extorting Stephen, and I do care about other victims. So that's why I take issue with the whole idea of, you publicized it, because it was already public. People were already talking about it. I just said the truth and defended myself. So as a thing here, Pxie is lying about this because in President Sunday's video, you can see in their leaked DMs that 7 days at least prior to her publishing the Substack, she already had that full Substack written out. Now, in the operative complaint and in her original complaint, operative means the currently active one or the first one, whatever. In her original complaint and the amended complaint, and in statements she's made publicly, Pxie keeps claiming that she had to publish this Substack publicly because of all the other videos that had went live about her. But if you look at the leaked DMs in President Sunday's video, she had already had that full Substack written out a week earlier. She was always planning on publishing it. That's a lie that she tells in this hearing, and it's a lie that she tells in multiple court filings. The judge says, were you concerned, though, that by doing that, you were only making the story even bigger? Because then more people would try to find your video. So now remember, the judge is asking this because in most of these cases, the plaintiffs are not trying to publicize every single thing about them online. That's crazy. Most women find this stuff humiliating. They don't want everybody to know who they are, that their face is like attached to things.
That's true. But to Pxie's defense here, things play out differently when all parties involved are content creators. And I believe she is too. So the way it was playing out publicly, I don't think it's that crazy. So it's a little different than if it was just a normal case like this. But so I can understand hypothetically her wanting to react to or try to control the narrative, but I also see the judge's point. So
that it's just very atypical. She says, I thought about that, and that's why I specifically put two things. I put nudes because I thought people were less likely to search up the video, but then on top of that, it was already in motion. What do you mean, put nudes? She says, instead of saying my video, a video, I said, oh, he disseminated nudes. And then, I see. In other words, you didn't put images of yourself, you referred to them as that. Okay. She said, yes, I said the nudes. The judge says, okay. And she says, and then also, I never mentioned what websites they were hosted on specifically. So I just said, he sent it online. Now keep in mind, in her complaint and the amended complaint, she does list all of the fucking websites. Good. Good one, Chief. Nice. And also at this point in time, the machine was already running. I guess is the best way I can say it. This is also a lie. Most people were just talking about the gay videos that had leaked of me, and that's it. Nobody was talking about nobody outside of like KF even really knew that Pxie was involved. It was just, but whatever, she can lie here, I guess. The videos were gaining so much traction, and people were just repeating what was on those videos that I felt like, okay, either I can make a statement now and defend myself before everybody believes these lies, or I can stay quiet and do nothing and hope it will go away, but it's not going away. It's been 2 months. It's been 2 months since the original leaks. People are still talking about it. People are still harassing me, and now I have these videos gaining like thousands of views, and either I can do my best to protect what little I have left, or I can stay quiet and then the judge interrupts and says, did you make an effort to, after November, before you did your own Substack, did you make an effort to take down the videos off the Kiwi thing? Is there a process where you can communicate with Kiwi to take down things that are improper?
Hearing a weird sound on my
She said,
microphone.
so I was in communication with Steven beforehand, and he told me that he had hired a legal firm who was dealing with that stuff. So in my head, I was like, okay. The judge said, he was doing it. She said, yes, Steven was dealing with the Kiwi Farm legal team. When it came to other websites, and I had a conversation with Steven about this, I was submitting basically Google request forms and like forms to those websites as well, personally, just trying to be like, oh no, this non-consensual revenge porn, please take it down. So I was making those efforts beforehand as well. And the judge says, thank you. This is hurting my back. Hold on.
Nikki New. So right now, the court transcripts from the Pxie lawsuit against Destiny have been released. I haven't been following the case that closely, so I'm curious to see the latest on it. I don't even know if there was a ruling, but all these transcripts are released. And yeah, it doesn't look great for Pxie. I don't think she had a very strong case, but at the same time, Destiny's a degenerate, so that's my little balanced take.
Okay. Charged pickles. And since you bring it up, okay, now my lawyer is asking again. And since you brought it up, Ms. Doe, about the idea of extortion, do you recall messaging Mr. Bonnell? I feel that whatever I ask you to cover will be too high a price, and then I'm even going to feel worse over it. Now, it's interesting, by the way, that she says yes here, because this is a message that she deleted from our DMs that they have not been able to reproduce. By the way, they keep accusing me of spoliation. That's her engaging in spoliation, because she deleted this message right before she sent me a letter on the 20th, or the 23rd is when I got it, I think, for which was a request for the preservation of evidence, basically notifying me, hey, there's going to be a lawsuit. You better not delete shit because you're going to be in trouble for it. She deleted shit and then sent me that letter. So it's funny that this is the only message she seems to be able to recall, but it's the one message in our DMs, I think. Well, there might have been more she deleted and I just don't know about it. Yeah. And then her lawyer says, objection, Your Honor. There's no extortion reference in the record, so I object to the form. Andrew, my lawyer, says, she opened the door, Your Honor. The judge says, I didn't understand your question anyway, so I'll sustain. Ask another one. Andrew says, I'll withdraw it for now. I'll come back. Andrew says, in addition to your Substack, and then the judge says, it's got to follow all the particulars in fairness. And then Andrew says, I understand, Your Honor, and I will be more clear. The judge says, okay. Andrew, in addition to your Substack, did you create a what's called Give Send Go account to promote your lawsuit against Mr. Bonnell? She says, a Go Send Go? He says, correct. She says, I made a Give Send Go. He said, Give Send Go. She said, yeah. And Andrew says, okay. And then the judge says, how do you spell that? Andrew says, Give, G-I-V-E, Send, S-E-N-D, Go, G-O. And then Andrew says, and Give Send Go is similar to a GoFundMe page, correct? She said, yes. And he said, and the purpose of you creating this Give Send Go page was to raise money to pursue a legal claim against Mr. Bonnell, correct? Yes. And on your Give Send Go page...
So the lawsuit that the Thorpes were talking about filing with Grok as their lawyer, shockingly, it was filed incorrectly, and then they dropped the whole thing because it didn't get any attention online the way they hoped for. And it was never really a genuine case they thought they had anyway. They're experiencing a lot of AI psychosis where they feel emboldened by feeding in leading sentences and stuff. Like, you saw she thinks I'm going to jail for 5 years over a joke. These people don't know how the law works, how the world works, how people work, or lawyers, because they feel overly confident having...
you linked to your Substack post in which you described your version of the situation, correct? Yes.
His dick in
No
another
trust
man's
in
mouth
Stream
didn't tell you that
Munch
much, Montero. True. Yeah, that was the first sign for me personally. It made me think.
Okay.
The guys are
To date,
but yeah, they just much like the lawsuit against Keemstar and others. They tried to get a little boost from it, and it didn't really. Not much came of it, and they dropped it. Eric says the AI psychosis is real. It is it is. It's a phenomena that's popping up more and more, and they're like prime suspects for it because they have such a loose grip on reality and are willing to believe anything that they find to be flattering about them.
How much money have you raised from your Give, Send, Go page? Her lawyer: objection, Your Honor. It's outside the scope of the direct, and it's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about here today. The judge asks Andrew, how is it relevant? Andrew says, how is it relevant, Your Honor? She has been promoting this lawsuit and claiming that this has cost her so much money that other people are learning of the lawsuit from Mr. Bunnell when really she's hosting a fundraising page, trying to raise money, and continues to raise money. And I think it's important to see how much money has come in and when that money has come in. Judge says, it's relevant to ultimately damages, but for the purposes of an injunction hearing, which prong is it relevant to? Andrew says, I think it goes to irreparable harm, Your Honor. She's continuing to publicize the fact that the video exists, that she has a lawsuit that's pending against Mr. Bunnell in federal court, and she's publicizing that fact and trying to raise money for it. I'll move on if the court, and then the judge says, I'll sustain the objection as to the relevance of the amount, but not as to and then Andrew says, the existence of the site, and the judge says exactly. Now remember, the judge apparently found this irreparable harm claim relevant because this was one of the bases that they denied the preliminary injunction. Ultimately, what this hearing is about was denied in whole, right? And remember, what we're saying with irreparable harm here is if Pxie's saying he published bad videos of me, I need to raise money to make myself whole again, you can't really claim irreparable harm for the videos continuing to be published because if it was irreparable and you're saying publicly, I can be made whole again if I get money, well, that's kind of contradictory, It can't be both,
Yeah, they just seem to be. They just love being in court and failing in court, so they just want to keep doing that again.
Andrew, question. And when you created that Give, Send, Go page, Miss Doe, you created it using your legal name, didn't you? She said, no, I originally created it using my friend's name, Lauren, by the way. She allowed me to use it to be able to retrieve, originally it was created in my friend's name. And
I think this is where they're talking about Lauren De Laguna.
He says, and it stated on the page that all proceeds would go to your legal name, which I'll leave off the record here. Is that correct? And she says, so what happened? And then he says, yes or no. She says, it's more complicated than just yes or no. He says, but it's a yes or no question. She said, no, it's not a yes or no, okay? What happened, I created the name under my friend's name, and then the website didn't tell me that it would do this, but they said, okay, put your name, like your bank account information, your name to receive the funds. But when I did that, it published it temporarily for a short time onto the page. And when I realized that, I contacted Give, Send, Go, and I was like, hey, I don't want my name on there. Can you change it? And then they adhered and they changed it. So it wasn't that I created this knowing my legal name was going to be attached to that. I was under the impression that it would just be my friend's name. And then the judge asks, because you weren't allowed to use a fake name like your online name? And then Pxie says, no, because it was for the bank account information, and that's when they put my legal name. And when I contacted them and I was like, hey, it's really important for me to not have my name on there, that's when they publicly changed the name back to my pseudonym. The judge said, okay. Andrew says, so you were allowed to use your pseudonym, correct? She said, not initially, no. It was only after I contacted the website and told them, hey, I didn't know that when I put my bank account information, that means that you would have, put my name there too. Please, can you change it to something else? And they were like, okay, we'll change it. So it wasn't originally an option for me. He said, my lawyer asks, you had a Blue Sky social account too, correct? She says, yes. And that's similar to an X or a Twitter account. Yes. And on Blue Sky Social, you publicized the fact that you would be suing Destiny in federal court and links to your Substack and your Give, Send, Go page.
What about Sanity? Sanity says, I wanted to say this yesterday, but congrats to Thick Gemini escaping Becky. I don't know what is going on with that, but I was disappointed in Thick Gemini because they basically were bought out by Becky for $500 and have been sweeping up for them and making excuses for them. And now they're going to jump ship. It makes sense for them. It's a better option than working for a failed non-existent network that even the owner can't make herself show up to. So Emir's security failure. I wonder the guys with Yuzuka. Maybe we supported the guys who put the name on the franchise. You know what I mean?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And you did that before filing this lawsuit. correct? Yes. You've submitted hundreds of pages of evidence in this case. Do you have any evidence that Mr. Bunnell transmitted your video, the video of you two, of you engaging in consensual sex after October of 2022? Abby MC's affidavit. Where is Abby MC? She lives outside of Florida. Has she produced a single document to demonstrate that the video was transmitted to her after the effective date of the federal statute under which you are suing Mr. Bunnell? Yeah, when she originally received the videos, she had messaged her friend shortly thereafter in 2023. You know, Destiny sends me these videos thinking, I don't know who these girls are, but I do. It's Cherry and Pxie. He should really be more careful. And then the judge interrupts and says, and how do you know this? And Pxie says, I know this because Abby submitted the messages to us in evidence. And then Andrew asks, and there's not a single message attached to Abby MC's declaration that reflects that the transmission of the video was made after the effective date of the statute, correct? The judge says, do you know what the effective date of the statute is? Andrew says, let's say October of 2022. Somebody in chat just said, Destiny, your haters moved on from the case. They call you a pedophile now because the roasting has been more spicy and damaging their eyes. I understand that. Give it a month or two, and that's all I can say about that, okay? I can confidently say that every single claim made about that is incorrect, though. I'll just say that. Let's say October 2022. And then Pxie says, I believe that just timeline-wise, Abby didn't meet him until 2023, so it would not have been possible for her to send those messages before 2023. And then Andrew says, my question to you is, did you submit any evidence reflecting the transmission of a video after October of 2022 from any witness, Abby MC, or anyone else? Do you have any evidence at all, other than what you are speculating, that Mr. Bunnell transmitted your video after October of 2022? Her lawyer objects. Objection. Calls for legal conclusion. Andrew says, I'm asking if you have any evidence. That's all. The court says, overruled. So then Andrew asks again, then Pxie says, does the affidavit not count as evidence? She asks the judge. The judge says, it counts. And then she looks to Andrew and she says, so yes. And then Andrew says, you have a statement. Do you have any documentation? She said, that's documentation. He says, do you have any evidence demonstrating a transmission of a video from Mr. Bunnell to any third party in the world after October of 2022? Her lawyer objects. Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered. She's already said there's evidence, and there are statements, and they're part of the record. The judge says, sustained. She says, so, and then Andrew says, you don't have to answer. The next question. Mr. Bretler says, do you recall publishing on social media in April of this year that your goal here is to bankrupt Mr. Bunnell? She said, I don't think I said bankrupt. He said, okay, what word do you think you used? She said, can you just read me I can't remember what word just read me what I wrote supposedly, and then Andrew cuts her off and says, has there been any instance since this lawsuit has been filed where Mr. Bunnell, would you have any proof whatsoever that Mr. Bunnell has transmitted the video to any third party? Objection, judge asked and answered. Andrew says, no, it's a different question. Andrew says, since the lawsuit was filed, do you have any evidence that Mr. Bunnell has transmitted the video to any third person? Her lawyer objects again. Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered. It's the same question. Andrew says, it's not the same question. The judge says sustained on a different basis. And then my lawyer says, can I get some guidance? What's the basis for the objection? The judge says, I think she's already talked about that. So if you want to ask about a more specific thing, that's fine with me. For example, have you seen any transmission yourself or record of a transmission as opposed to what somebody's told? So
D-Dog, he's definitely coming this week. The soonest would be tomorrow night. So stay tuned, folks. It depends on how the drive goes and if his parents are back from where they were, because he's been dog sitting. But very soon. Who are also cult lead? I don't know the people you're talking about. You're going to be a little more specific.
Told you that evidence Mr. Bunnell sending a video after October of 2022. Have you seen anything? And then Pxie says, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if he was going to ask that again. Okay.
It's gonna be fun.
And then this message here, guys. I have not seen the video, him sending the video. So Andrew says, no further questions, Your Honor. So just to be clear, this is in June of this year. This would be, June is the 6th month, right? 4 months after the court case has been filed, 5 months after her Substack was posted, and maybe 8 months after it was posted online. They do not have a single piece of evidence showing me sending this video to fucking anybody. They have absolutely fucking nothing. None of this. Not the 15 women that came forward, nobody, because it has not fucking happened. All of this is fucking bullshit, okay? And they admit it right fucking here, okay? But
cheers. Oops.
This is one of the reasons why it's so annoying in all their motions when they keep saying like, Discovery, we're still early in Discovery. We're still early in Discovery. No, we're not. We're done with Discovery. On my end, they haven't given me anything, but we're done with Discovery on my end. They're just mad because they haven't found, they don't have anything. They haven't found any evidence, and they keep like, they're trying to dig through all of my shit, and they're mad. Okay. Redirect is, I think her lawyer can come up and ask her questions again. I believe.
Redirect is when you end your show on
Her lawyer
YouTube
comes
and
up.
send your audience to...
Mr. Butler asked you about the goals of your lawsuit. He asked you whether the stated goal of your lawsuit is to bankrupt Mr. Bunnell. Why did you bring this lawsuit? I brought this lawsuit because I'm under the impression that Destiny is going to continue sending people's intimate images and pornographic content without consent. I think I have good reason to believe this. I think unless he faces some level of consequences, I think that's what he's going to keep doing. I think he thinks that he's invincible, legally and socially. He's talked multiple times about how he gets a competitive high from people trying to ruin his career, trying to ruin his life, and how he continues to seek that. And I honestly think that if nobody tries to bring him to justice, or if nobody tries to do something about his current actions, he's just going to do it for perpetuity. It's not going to end. It's never going to stop. By the way, I like how she sounds like literally spite-driven as fuck here, but okay. It's never going to stop. And I just, I can't. The reason why I was originally suicidal was the idea that he would just continue to keep doing this. And I honestly, even if I lose, I don't think I could live with myself, thinking, oh, I had a chance to stop him. I had a chance to do something to make sure this didn't happen again, to stop other women from being hurt, and I did nothing. You were asked about your GiveSendGo account. Are you personally wealthy?
The other women.
No. Can you afford to pay lawyers hundreds of dollars per hour to prosecute your case for you? No. That's crazy. Then who's paying for it? Who's paid for it up to this point? Because her legal fees are definitely in excess of $100K. And she only raised $50K on the Substack. What's she doing now? I don't think she works. She obviously doesn't stream or anything. What's she doing? Really makes you wonder. Andrew, Your Honor, I object. If they wouldn't let me go into how much money she's raised, her financial situation is completely irrelevant. The judge says overruled. Lawyer says she did. The judge said she can answer. She said no. And then her lawyer asks, as far as dissemination of the video after October 2022, there is a dispute as to whether or not the actual initial showing of the video...
He's been saying he wants to do a live, and that's fine. It's impossible to always make sure they're not at the same time. But I guess he's having some technical issues where his phone's not connecting to the internet or something. So you're stuck with me, guys. Even though I would love to watch Detox Stream, I've been asking him to stream for
occurred on October 4th, 2022, or April 10th, 2022.
A lot of people have been wondering.
Are you aware of that? She said, yeah. And he said, okay. And could you explain that a little bit for the court's edification of what the dispute is about? Andrew says, objection, vague and ambiguous, and calls for a narrative. The judge says, how is she going to know this, sir? Lay a foundation for that. And then her lawyer says, okay, do you know when purportedly this video was shared with Rose? Now remember, in their own evidence, they have submitted European formatted dates, meaning some of the dates look like, some of the dates will look like 27/01/2022 or 2023, right? So unless they think there are 27 months in the year, it's clearly in day, month, year format, very clearly and obviously. They're just pretending that it's they're pretending that there's some ambiguity here. There's not. It's bullshit, okay? She says, I don't know the exact date. I saw the leaked messages, and it seems like the messages were, the way I read them, was October 4th, 2022. But their side is saying, oh no, the dates were reversed. It's European time or something. It was actually April 4th, 2022. So, and then the judge interrupts her and says April 10th. And she says, April 10th. So I don't really know, we would have to verify that information. And then her lawyer says, okay, but that information is information that you had gleaned from the actual posts themselves, correct? Yes. And you reviewed those posts, correct? Yes. By the way, the reason why this matters so much is because the law that she's suing me under wasn't active until October of 2022. It wasn't active in April of 2022. So that's why she has to run with this lie in the hopes that in the course of this case,
that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying to him. But I think what happens with some people who are streamers is if they don't stream for a while, they start overhyping it up in their head what their return stream is going to be like. That has to be, just so. But I've been telling him, it's hype up the trip. You could be, I'm sure people would be helping with gas and toll money and stuff. And he may or may not stream parts of the drive. Depends on a couple things. what happened with Destiny? All the court transcripts from his case with Pxie have been unsealed, so he's just reading and like talking about what happened in the courtroom, which is pretty interesting. He's kind of exploiting her. See more exploitation though. He's kind of small next to me. Cult lead. I don't know about what you're talking about there.
More evidence of me sending this video to anybody, because without it, her case is dead in the water. Because ignoring even if I would win on the merits or if we would dismiss it some other way, the fact of the matter is she can't even get this case off the ground because this law wasn't even operating when she's trying to claim when the initial video was sent. So that's why the date on this is so important. Okay. And the timeline of October 4th is temporally close to the time that the videos were ultimately posted. She said, yes. That's not true. Wait, she says, sorry, can you repeat? I said, yes. You said temporally close to the times the videos were posted. He said, correct. She says, so you mean they were just close, right? He said, yes, we'll move on. Oh, this is not true. That timeline on October 4th, 2022 is temporally close to when the videos were ultimately posted. No, the videos were ultimately posted in 2024, November. So they're either lying here or her attorney is lost. Her attorneys don't do a great job on a lot of this. But also she has a bullshit case. So like it's hard to figure out like, is she losing because she has bad lawyers or is it because it's a bullshit case? That it's kind of like a thing that is it's like a mutually exclusive thing. Like some people will complain that she had bad lawyers, and that's kind of true, but that's because no good lawyer would take this case because it's a bullshit case. They know it is. That's why the first two law firms that she contacted both told her, no, you don't have a case here.
Awesome.
So the only lawyer she was ever going to find for this would be a bad, in my opinion, a law firm not qualified to do this level of litigation, or at least this subject matter or area of law, I guess. I don't know. So her lawyer says, yes, we'll move on. As far as your Substack, why did you post a Substack? She said, there's a variety of reasons why I decided to post to Substack. I posted the Substack because people were, and the videos were gaining traction, ones that contained blatant lies about me and were defamatory in nature. So, one, I felt like I had to defend myself and tell people the truth. Destiny, do you think she's lying to her lawyers? She could be. I don't know if she would or not. But then again, you could have asked me beforehand, and I would say Pxie's like the last person in the universe in my life that I would ever expect to do anything like this. So what the fuck do I know? Now everybody keeps accusing me of lying to my lawyers, so who knows, you know? Two, I did have to find a way to gain some level of legal funds if I wanted to pursue this legally because I was told that cases like this can get really expensive. And three, I wanted people to know the truth. I wanted people to know that what Stephen did to me and to other women was unacceptable. Okay. And I wanted to be...
D-Dog is live. I think he banned my comments, though. Let me see. So annoying. Maybe it's from earlier. Maybe I just don't see it. Huh. Yeah, my comments aren't showing up. Well, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's a technical issue. But that's cool.
The last person that he ever decided to do this to. And then the judge says, and remind me, when was this Substack created? She said, the Substack was created January 20th.
And
that's when the post was, when I posted the account, the judge said, and when did you file the lawsuit?
From my apartment.
She said February 20th, I believe. And the judge says, about a month before the lawsuit? And she says, yes. And then her lawyer says, since the lawsuit, have you posted on Substack? No. Have you made any commentary on social media about this case since the inception of the lawsuit? Yes. And when was that? And what was it in reference to? I don't know why her lawyer would ask this question to get this on the record. I think it just makes her look bad, but okay. I don't remember all the exact dates of the social media posts. Also, you should know in advance what your lawyer's going to ask you about. Why don't you have these dates memorized? You are allowed to confer with your client about what you're going to, talk about beforehand. You can't coach the witness. You can't tell your client, answer like this, say this, do this. But like, she should know what the question is going to be. It's like she did no fucking prep whatsoever for any of this case. Like, it's all just a fucking big meme. I don't remember all the exact dates of the social media posts, but I remember when we were able to get the seals, I posted that online telling people like, hey, like we're able to like seal some of these things. Like, this is something that's possible for us to do. The reason why I did that was because there's a lot of women who are really scared of coming forward or to speak anything about relating to this. They're afraid of getting harassed. They're afraid of getting doxxed. So I thought that was very important information to post. When you posted, this is her lawyer, when you posted on Substack, did you use your real name or did you use your handle? She said handle. He says, Mr. Bretler went through some intimate texts that you had with Mr. Bunnell leading up to your sexual encounter. At any time in any of your interactions with Mr. Bunnell, did you ever indicate in any way that it would be okay for him to share the video of you with anyone? No. Now, another question is, did he say the same for you? Because the answer to that is also no, by the way. He says, I don't have any further questions at this time. The judge says, all right, thank you, ma'am. You may step down. She says, thank you. Do you want to call the defendant? And then he says, I do. And the judge says, what I would rather do is have the defendant do the direct of the defendant so we can do it in a streamlined way. And then Andrew, my lawyer, says, we'll call the defendant, Mr. Bunnell, please. The clerk says, please state full name for the record and spell your last name for the record, please. And then I say, I'll do this in my own voice. My name is Stephen Bunnell II. My last name is Bonnell. Thereupon, Stephen K. Bunnell II, having been first duly sworn, was examined and testified as follows. Okay. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick and I'll be right back and then we'll read my... These guys watch way too much TV, okay? Jesus. I'll be right back, 1 sec.
All right. Well, that's cool. Great stream. Goodbye.